We're going to waste no time. Allie Clifton, Richard Jefferson, Dingle McCringlebutt. Welcome to this edition of Road Trippin. Don't forget to get all your Road Trippin swag at homage.com/roadtrippin. And apparently my guys were hungry. They wanted to start this podcast enjoying their lunch. But Channing has something he wants to get off his chest. So I'm just going to step out of the way.
Just let me go on my little, get on my high horse. Did y'all not see Wemby these last few games? 7 blocks, 6 blocks. Well, like, come on, man. What more does he have to do?
Win.
What? It's not his fault. He can't score for his scrubby team. He's not going for MVP. He's going for defensive player.
It's like they played our podcast in the locker room.
They did.
And they listened to both sides.
Also, let's say this. I was wrong. Individually, he's doing an outstanding job. He's doing an outstanding job. He'll be all defensive first team. I don't think we've seen that as a rookie since maybe Tim Duncan. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, he'll be all defensive. He'll be all defensive team as a rookie, which is insane because of his skills. But you know, I'm
so you're telling me Rudy changes how Minnesota is winning, so it's not Anthony Edwards because he's going ape shit like that.
Channing, I'm not going to get into this. If you truly believe that the rookie whose team is that's your opinion. No one's questioning his greatness. No one's questioning his talent. No one's questioning, is he going to be maybe the greatest defensive player we've ever seen? No one's questioning that. But to say that this year he is the defensive rookie, our defensive player of the year, honestly, I support your opinion. My opinion differs.
I will give you this, Richard. You were correct. It was Tim Duncan, but it was in his second season in 1998-99. Last NBA player to make the all-defensive first team in his first or second season was Tim Duncan.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
We see how that turned out for that guy.
No. Fair. I'm gonna keep Channing up on his Clydesdale, on his high horse, because actually that's not where I thought you were going, Channing.
Where'd you think I was going?
Do you want to address? Can you please get closer to the mic? I don't like when I can only faintly hear you.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to address your thoughts about Dallas and Denver and what you felt?
Oh, I told y'all, motherfuckers. I told y'all. I knew it. I said the last podcast, I said, hey, I think Dallas got a chance to mess with him a little bit. Now, obviously, Kyrie shot a shot, and I was looking at some of the comments. People go, oh, Kareem did that for a long time. I go, Kareem shot a right-hand hook. Give him credit. He is not 6'3" shooting over a 7-footer off his offhand. The fact that that's even in a repertoire for somebody is
it's not somebody. There's one person. There's one person that's in his repertoire that NBA players know he's capable of. We know Steph Curry is capable of things, and we're still amazed when he does it, right? Like that shot that he hit in OKC from there, like all of our brains were exploding. I would say that our brain, collectively, NBA players' brains exploded more on that Kyrie shot than on that Steph Curry deep shot.
For sure.
Right. Yeah, because we were like, we know Steph's got that. We know.
For game, and like most guys care. He goes, I shot this probably in the backyard a couple times. Let me throw this up there. Like, it's not, and that's what makes him dangerous, is if he's locked in like that.
But this is where we start talking about the impact on the game of basketball. This is no lie. A shot like that changes the impact. It has an impact on the game of basketball. A shot like that reverberates throughout all of the basketball world. My kids yesterday, they were out playing, and I showed them the shot, and they couldn't believe it, and it was all this. Do you know how many kids went out to the park and were working on their left hands because of that Kyrie shot? Because they know what's capable. I guarantee you, I know I would have as a kid. I know I would have as a kid gone out in my front yard and started shooting left-handed shots. No different than you're like Jordan, Kobe, Bron, you're doing these fadeaways. And I'm not saying that we're going to see like this left-hand explosion, but we would all be foolish to think that every high school coach, every junior high coach, every dad that's helping his son didn't show him that video and be like, do you see a left hand shot, a right hand shot, how important your left hand is? That's the kind of impact that that shot can have. When my kids are like, Daddy, watch Kyrie, and they're throwing up left hand hook shots from 10 feet out. And I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. But that's what they see, and generations of people emulate the things that they see. And now that you know that shooting from 60 feet and shooting left hand hook shots are possible, the game is just going to keep growing. The player's skill level is going to go through the roof because they know what they're capable of.
I think we are at the golden age of skilled players. Unless there are less and less, which is a compliment. There are less and less, I would say, Giannis's or LeBron's or, those kind of freaks of nature. And then obviously they develop skills. But like Bron came in, he wasn't a shooter. You have food on your lips. But he had skills.
I don't care. There's going to be more.
Developed into more of a skill guy on top of his athleticism. Look at what Jalen Brunson has done. He's not an athletic freak, and he dominates teams, right? Look at Jokic, dominates teams. And what we're seeing is more players are having success through working on individual skills than just being like, I'm athletic, let me just jump over this guy. It don't work like that no more.
What was the question? Are you guys talking about Kyrie? Sorry, I obviously lost connection.
We're talking about you.
Were you talking about the skill set of Kyrie? Did you guys go into that or no?
Well, yeah, we went into that, and I was basically just talking about how it's going to change the game.
Yeah.
Not change the game, but I'm saying the impact. And let me be very clear. Shots like that have impacts. Kids around the country, kids around the world, I guarantee we're in their front yard, in their backyard, talking to their friends, shooting left-hand shots, yelling Kyrie's name.
That's so awesome, by the way.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. My kids were doing that yesterday.
Yeah.
They're like, Daddy, watch. And I wasn't telling them that. They showed them the video. I was showing them how crazy it was and blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, the next day, they're playing basketball and they're playing on their hoop in the front yard, and they're throwing up left-hand hook shots and like yelling his name. That was going on across.
You said that Kyrie. Were you the one that said that Kyrie is the greatest skilled player?
Most skilled player I've ever seen. And people are like, "Oh, you forget about Kobe," and I'm like, Kobe was also 6'6", like 6'2". Kyrie shooting 50% from the field, 40% from three, 90% from the free throw line with an array of finishes that we've never seen for a guy that small, posting up players 5-6 inches taller than him. Sorry, Shannon Sharp. Posting up players 5 or 6 inches taller than him, like left-hand finishes, right-hand finishes. Like, show me something where his skill level on 2K ain't 10 out of 10. It ain't shooting. It ain't ball handling. It ain't finishing. It ain't posting up. Passing, maybe. But he can pass. It's just that's not his weapon of choice.
Yeah. It's like a side salad to him. It's not the main. But listen, I played with some great shooters. Kyrie is top 3 best shooter I've ever seen in my life.
Who's 1 and 2?
I played with guys like,
Who's
Korver
in there? 1 and 2.
Crazy. James Jones is nuts. Vince Carter was crazy. I got to put myself up there. I had a flamethrower. Steve Nash. Crazy.
Let me help you out. Let me help you out.
Here we go.
His name should have been a little bit higher on that list.
A little higher. I forgot about
a little bit higher.
But like Kyrie shooting, like I'm a great standstill shooter. Hey, somebody pass me the ball. Kyrie is the best at okay, doesn't matter. And not like it barely went in. Like no one was even guarding him.
Okay, so question to you, because you've said this a couple of times too, Richard. Are you talking because the skill level of Kyrie is, as we know, the most elite, top of the top? Are you adding in on how difficult, how easy he makes it look because of his size? Because then I want to present this to you. We were talking about it in the pregame show the other day, not in the show, in the commercial break. I asked Robert Ory and Big Game James if they thought that Kyrie was the most skilled ever as well. Rob, without hesitation, absolutely. And I don't know if Big Game necessarily understood it as much as I was trying to articulate it across to him, because he threw out Kevin Durant. And then I saw on Draymond's podcast saying that Kyrie Irving is the scorer that everyone in the world thinks of Kevin Durant.
I think that's different.
That's a
Well,
different
that part,
sentence, but yes, I think Kyrie is more.
I felt like there was a little bit of a shot. I feel like that was also a little bit of a shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Kevin Durant was a 50, 40, 90 guy also.
Yeah,
Make no
right.
mistake. And he's 7 feet tall. When I say the and this is no disrespect, understand, we're all living in the land of giants.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to, if they're both 50, 40, 90 guys, if they're both average 27 points a game, if they're both that efficient, who is it harder for to do from a skill level? Who is it harder to do? There's a skill level of being that tall and having the handle, but there's still the advantage of the height if you can add the skill. He will never have that advantage in Kyrie, right? Kevin Durant doesn't typically post up players bigger than him. If Kevin Durant's not playing against Wemby and getting off these shots, imagine living in a world of Wembys where Kyrie at 6'2.5", 6'3" is getting these shots over 6'7" people. That's the equivalent to Kevin Durant doing that every single day against 50 Wembys, right? Do you see like the scale size? And that's not to diminish Kevin Durant, because the ability to do that as a 7-footer is next level. At 6'11", to be a guard, a 2 guard, that's next level. That's also why when Kevin Durant showed up, it was Steph's team, but Kevin Durant was the best player on those teams.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, because at the end of this day, are you going to give it to Steph, who has to work exponentially harder to get off that shot at the end of the game? Or are you going to give it to Kevin Durant, who can just hang, dribble, and elevate over any
Allie,
human being on the
planet?
planet?
Conversations about who we are going to double team, there was like, why even try double team? Like, Channing can't guard him, Tristan can't guard him, Braun can't guard him. Why are we double teaming him? Like, let's go double team somebody that might have an impact on.
What was the game plan defensively against the 2017 Warriors?
Pray.
Yeah, keep it close.
Pray.
In the NBA Finals, what was the defensive game plan?
No, you could.
Pray.
Because if you shot a bad shot, you had 5 guys going out. And here's the real issue. Nobody talks about their burst defensively. Where like they get a stop 3. They get another stop. Now you're down 6. You're down 6. And offensively, you're like, shit, I need to get a good shot. So now you're more tense offensively. And then let's say you get a good layup and KD comes out of nowhere and is bringing the ball up the court. How many defenders do you have on the court to keep up with that much shooting? No one. Jesus, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and Ric Flair would have to be out there to guard those dudes.
Ric Flair.
Well, our game plan before was, really quickly, we stayed at home, right? We had a lot of different game plans because we were getting our ass whipped so much. But ideally, we only switched when Steph and Clay came together. When Steph and Clay would come together in that little slip out, those were the only time we were switched. Everything else was stay at home unless it was an emergency situation. And then, obviously, shout out our guy Harrison Barnes. He didn't play well, but there were a slew of guys that didn't play well in that role. If there was somebody else that would have stepped in, they would have done that. But when you replace Harrison Barnes with Kevin Durant, so when all of that action would go on, I could face guard Kevin Durant and try and avoid him getting the ball, but Steph and Clay are still causing havoc on that other side. So there was no defense created. There was no 5 defensive players that you could have picked from any place in the fucking planet and said, we're going to create a defense that would slow this down. It didn't exist. That's why there was no beating them.
That was a beautiful conversation.
As long as they played normal.
That went off on a different tangent. So I do want to bring this back full circle. Channing, do you still believe that Dallas can give Denver? Yeah. Is that what we're believing?
I just think, and this is I don't care if it's a hot take, it's what I truly believe. You know how Cam Newton said there are game changers and then there are game managers. Luka and Jokic are some of the best, if not the best, game managers in today's game. Okay? Mm-hmm. When they go against each other, right, they don't guard each other. So, hey, Aaron Gordon, good luck. And Lively and, PJ Washington, good luck. And then after that, it's Jamal Murray versus Kyrie. And and most people would say Kyrie, but that's still going to be a good matchup.
Mhm.
Then you go to the extras. That's where I think Dallas is a lot closer than people may think. I think adding PJ Washington, obviously Lively, Daniel Gafford. I think Tim Hardaway's starting to get out of that slump, right? They
No,
have
he's not.
bodies. Huh? What do you say?
I said, no, he's not.
Well, I mean, he's trying. He's trying.
Tim, we rooting for you, brother.
Hey,
He's in the Matrix right
a
now.
dark
Tim's
place.
in the Matrix.
Hey, he shoot. Hey, there was a
I saw
time I
Tyrese
was in that
Haliburton is
Matrix.
too. He said, "I've never been in a slump this
Oh,
bad in my life."
Oh, poor guy.
I saw, but it's also this is the most his usage rate
Crazy.
is at its peak. That's the thing people don't understand. It takes conditioning to play like that, and they were trending this way. But you still are. They're still doing that. They were putting up 150 points in the game at the beginning of the season. They were going crazy. So if there is a conditioning, did I push too much? Do I need to up my conditioning? Your food, all of those things go because you're talking about a race car always in the red. You don't want a race car always in the red, but if you're pushing it, so maybe that's where he learns and becomes a better game manager. Maybe in December, January, it's a little bit slower, right? Let me slow down the pace, right? And then rev back up. It's never what's the best way. So you know how swimmers are never always trying to get their best. They taper themselves. They taper themselves for like a couple of weeks, right? And then they lead to it before an event. So they train, and then they do. When you run a marathon, you don't run a marathon every single day training for a marathon. Tyrese Haliburton was pushing it. Their offense was going nuts. And now all of a sudden, that motherfucker ran out of gas.
Oh.
Full blown gas from three. Doesn't mean it won't come back, but right now he needs to take a fucking pit stop, right? Maybe slow down the pace, get your juice back, and then get back on that track. Because that's what that stretch says.
Here, and this is honest truth, and this is probably not the best way to say it, but it's the truth. They ran out of talent. Like they have five dudes who are solid, very high talented dudes. Tyrese obviously being one of them. When you start out the gate and have that much success, teams go, okay, wait till after the break when we're really going to put something in. Wait till after the new year when we know our team. Then you got Pascal that comes in. That's a whole different setup. So he's trying to learn how to play with them, trying to move. And I think Tyrese he's not a, and this is a great, he has such a great feel for basketball. The worst thing he could ever do is think it. You can physically see him thinking about where to throw the ball. I've never seen Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, Braun, any of these high-level guards. They throw the ball. They throw you open because they're feeling the game. They're seeing the game. And right now, Tyrese is not seeing the game. He's thinking it, which is slowing him down and making him look like he's running quicksand.
You actually just gave me an interesting thought, Channing. So you guys can just humor me for a second because you both played with Kyrie. Rich, you played with Kyrie and Jamal Murray. If you were a GM and you had to choose between Kyrie or Jamal to start who are you taking?
There's different. No. Kyrie is the more talented player without a doubt. Without a doubt, Kyrie's the more talented player. But there's also things that come with, managing different players. There's something like let me say this. There's a difference between let's say there's a difference between a general and a soldier, right? Kyrie is a general, right? Like Jamal Murray is a soldier from a standpoint of like, this man is going to grind. He's going to do everything that you ask him to do. He's going to do his best. He's going to go out, hit big shots. Kyrie is more of a person that has his view of things is something that you have to meet him there. You have to get Kyrie. I don't want to necessarily say to buy in, but like Kyrie, this is what we're thinking. Like there's a different mentality of those two. The mentalities are very different. But skill wise, Kyrie is. Man, skill wise and talent wise, as like your leading scorer, there's probably only Kyrie's in the top 10 of guys that can score at the level that he can do in the league by far, and probably the most skilled of those 10. Luka's up there. Luka's up there too. When we start talking about the most skilled guys of all time,
when Luka is freaking out about a shot, that should show you. Like When Luka was like, I didn't even know he was going to do that.
Like
That
that's what I'm
shows
saying.
you.
Like, yeah.
So you're taking
When
Kyrie
the
to start
the most
to build a team around.
I'm taking this Dallas version of Kyrie, maybe a Boston version or a Brooklyn version.
the
I don't know.
best
I'm
versions
taking
of Kyrie
Jamal.
were Cleveland version and this version, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
The in-between story. It's like Star Wars. The first part was good. This part is good. That in-between, it just had to work the little kinks out.
I'm done. Okay, we're gonna just go right into playoff conversation chatter because we're officially inside a month until the NBA playoffs start, which is on April 20th. Ayo, every team has roughly 15 games left until the postseason.
Yep.
So I want your take. A team that currently has the most pressure on them or most to prove here on this stretch run heading into the postseason.
Said it before. I'll say it again. Cleveland.
Mm.
Say it again. Say it again for the people in the back. It is Cleveland, and it's not even close. Like,
What's your mean? You mean in these 15 games or in the postseason? That's my question.
Postseason.
Allie?
Down the stretch heading into the playoffs.
So before the postseason, these 15 games, which ones are most important, Channing?
Wow, did Rich just listen before Channing?
Philly for sure. Because that's 6, 7, 8. That's a quick exit. Even with Big Joel Embiid, that's quick. 1, 2, get up out of here. 1, 2, buckle my shoe.
Someone just said, I just saw on Twitter as you're thinking, Rich, someone just said, man, the NBA is just not the same without Joel Embiid. Do you agree? Do you guys feel kind of that absence?
No.
Sorry, I'm all over the place, Rich. You can finish my
No. I'm saying no. We are, because we miss his greatness. We truly miss his greatness. Like, yeah, those players don't grow on trees. He's a once in a generation player, like without a doubt. Like those guys are very special. Where we don't miss him is because we hope that he would impact the postseason at a high level. We've never actually seen him impact the postseason at a high level. We haven't seen Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, would be not from a branding and like fame, but think about some of the people and teams that Jimmy Butler has knocked off in the Miami Heat, right? A couple years ago in the bubble, last year taking down Boston and Jason Tatum, taking down Giannis and those boys. Like those are playoff memories that you remember forever. Like that is cemented Jimmy as like one of those dudes that you I don't necessarily fear, but one of those dudes that you're kind of like, holy shit, do you want to see them in the postseason? I don't think we miss Embiid because he hasn't given us a reason in the postseason to be like, oh, once he gets there.
Yeah.
No Steph, no LeBron in the postseason, we'd miss them.
God, and that very likely could be the case. Wild. We'll talk about that in a second. Who's the team that you think has the most proof?
This is a tough one. Down the stretch, so I don't think there's a team, in my opinion, because I think if you're in those hunts, I think teams like Phoenix have been kind of bouncing around. This is what I would say. That top 3 in the West. I'm not going to go one team. I'm going to go 3 teams for one slot. Whoever is going to get those 1, 2, and 3 seeds. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but hear me out. Those 3 teams are jockeying for position. Minnesota's banged up. No Naz Reid, no Karl Anthony Towns, no Rudy Gobert. Like, they had a great game just last night against Denver. Anthony Edwards had a shot. But if those dudes start to drop down, you might rather be 3 versus 6. Might rather be 3. You get 1, 2, and the Lakers start hitting their stride, and we already know about all that bullshit. And those 2 guys, Steph and Bron, when they can spot blood. And so I would say down the stretch, if we're going to pick one team of those top 3, I would say Minnesota, because they have so many guys banged up and out right now. Their whole front court.
All right. Let me ask you this. What has a better shot of happening? The Magic gaining a half game to pass the Knicks for the 4 seed in the East, or the Pelicans gaining a half game to pass the Clippers for the 4 seed in the West?
Hey, the Pelicans been balling.
I mean,
that's no joke.
Well, Zion, they say he's lost 20-something pounds, and it's like,
Why did he
25
have
the thing,
pounds
20 on him in the first place?
in
Why
season tournament.
but that's why I fucking fuck with you, Channing. That's why I fuck with you, Channing.
Right.
That's why I fuck with you. Why you got 25 pounds to lose in the middle of a season in which you playing 35 a night?
5,
Bro.
10 max.
Do
25?
you,
Do you know
I don't
that's
know how many people, I don't know people, I don't know humans will fully understand unless you have done it. The amount of calories that you burn playing 35 minutes of basketball and to be in that kind of NBA player shape because it's physical, it's all of these things, it's sprints, it's long distance, it's all you burn 10,000 calories in a game
easy?
if you're playing 35 minutes, maybe not 10,000, but you're burning lots. So to have that much to lose shows a lot. And I'm proud of him. I'm glad that he's taken that. Even Channing's fat ass was out of shape when he left Orlando and came to Cleveland, and we got him in shape. And he's a professional. I know it. So I'm
It's
saying this. I'm
different,
happy
different
for
shape.
that.
It
But
was
you
like
can see
go
his
home
bounce is
early
coming
shape
back.
or
Yeah, his bounce is coming back. His bounce is coming back. He's doing all of these. He's 25 and 10 and this. He's doing all of these special things because he's back in shape. Look, if they get to the 6th spot and they play the 3. So imagine if they played this. If it's a 3-6 and it's Minnesota versus them. Yeah, Anthony Edwards is that dog. But if you don't got a front court and Karl Anthony Towns is banged up, Rudy Gobert is banged up, Naz Reid is banged up, whatever that is, like those boys can play really, really well.
yeah.
And Zion is a full-on load. And they got Valanciunas, and they got shooters, and
Brandon
Trey
Ingram
Murphy.
and
They
Trey
got that,
Murphy.
and
Yeah.
Trey Murphy. So like, yeah, Anthony Edwards is that dude, but I don't know if Anthony Edwards is worth CJ and Brandon Ingram.
No.
I don't know if I don't know if he's that. I don't know if he cancels out the two of them, right? And so then when you look at that, they need their big. No, Karl Anthony Towns is big for them. That's 20 points a game that they're trying to figure out if they're going to get back, and they got 15 games to get back and get a bit of a rhythm.
7 foot of human down there who's an all-star. So he's gonna make plays. And if you think you're gonna rely on Anthony Edwards, I have not seen it, and I hope to see it. If you think you're gonna rely on him to beat the Pelicans 4 games by himself, let's say even 3, then he's that dude. But okay, let's
can do it.
like you said.
I think he could do it.
No, he can't.
I said he can't. I'm okay. What I'm saying is this: if someone told you that Anthony Edwards raised his game and dismantled the Pelicans, and they didn't have anybody that could handle him, you'd be like, okay. And if you said Zion Williamson had a great series and they didn't have anybody, because think about it, Karl Anthony Towns gets a chance to get people in foul trouble. That's like if Karl Anthony Towns and Zion Williamson are banged up, and Zion goes out, and Karl Anthony Towns are both out. Now you're looking at Brandon Ingram. Now you're looking at CJ McCollum.
Trey.
Now you're looking at Trey. Now you're looking at Valanciunas. I just think their others are better, but I think the best player on the floor, with the way Zion's, who's the best player on the floor? Anthony Edwards or Zion? Anthony Edwards is, but Zion is doing this. The gap has closed because Zion's in shape. His team, he's got shooting his team. So that gap is closing. And if you tell me 15 more months of whatever diet and training regiment he's, or 15 more games of whatever diet, if he loses another 10, and that dude goes in there looking like
he might be on that Ozempic.
He goes in there, start looking like Tupac instead of Biggie. We gonna like, bro. Zion's one of those players that people that I don't, again, not scared or feared, but you're like, there is no matchup answer to him.
No, if he's in shape and he's physically going north and south, he's smaller. Just gonna sound crazy.
Quicker,
smaller, more athletic than Giannis.
Yes,
exactly. That's what he is. When you watch him, people back up, and then
he's
you
got
see
a bunch
him
of
go,
hot takes
well,
in here.
Motherfucker, it's me and you.
Okay, so you did just mention that you were keeping an eye on the top 3 seeds in the West. Okay.
Yes.
So I do have a question for you. Obviously, the Thunder, they're currently tied with the Nuggets for that number 1 spot as it stands today. If OKC finishes at the top of the Western Conference, would SGA get your MVP vote?
No.
Channing, elaborate.
I just, in my heart, I just don't feel like this is his year. I can't look at Jokic again and go, nah, you're not the best player in the league.
He's the best player in the league.
You're like, you're the best player. Now, is SGA having a crazy year? Absolutely. But on no piece of paper would you ever say, regardless of where OKC is, that you would put them above Denver. You wouldn't say SGA is not going to get drafted. If you have a draft of all the players in the league, Jokic is going 1 or 2. Jokic is going 1 or 2. SGA might be 4, 5, 6. Now, that's not saying he's not.
I think he would be. I think if we were to break that down, I think he would be probably like 7.
Okay,
6,
4, 5,
7.
6, 7.
No, because when you say 4, 5, 6, I'm like, is there any scenario where I have him at 4 or 5 or 6? And I'm like, I don't see a scenario when we're talking about
Arizona education hits one way.
No, I'm saying no. He said 4, 5, 6, and I'm like, dude, I don't have him in any of those slots in any mindset. It's not you got the again. We forget
Luka,
it's the
Giannis,
Lukas,
Jokic,
Embiid, Jokic, right? Like. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the top. That's where we're.
You don't even have SGA in your top 3.
No.
We're talking about for MVP. For MVP, yes. I'm just talking about
yes.
MVP. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I have him too, personally.
He's the best. Look, Jokic is the best player in the world. He's the best player in the world. He does the most impact.
Say this, Richard. This is exactly what it is. If they had a best, like who's having the best year, SGA would win that award. The MVP is Jokic's. It's just he's done so much that
you finished it,
damn. Yeah, and you're just like, dude, god damn, you
finished a half. Well, and again, SGA beat him 3 times in a head-to-head. 3-1, they owed the tiebreaker. So imagine if they finish 1, you're like, oh, obviously it's them, right? You're like, oh, if they finish in the top 2, you're like, yo, he's the reigning Finals MVP, reigning champion. They finished 2 in the West. He's putting up ridiculous numbers. All of the things. Like I'm sorry.
Take that, give it to him, give him a little pony, and ride that award right on over to Jokic.
Does the MVP fatigue factor into voting?
Not this year. With Embiid, the statistically the numbers that Embiid were putting up, to me, that might have lent to some. I think he was kind of the front runner at the time that he had gone down, right?
For sure, he had more.
And this is where
minutes.
But this is also where Embiid, or not Embiid, but Jokic has won out many times. Like there's other guys that have gotten banged up, that have fallen flat at the end of the year, and Jokic, who doesn't miss many games and he's been a beacon of consistency for the last 4 or 5 years for his team, putting up triple-double numbers. He's averaging 9 assists, 11 rebounds, and 23 or whatever points a game. He's not out here trying to like go crazy on the number side. He's just trying to do enough to win and get to the postseason healthy.
Yeah. All right. We've reached that point of the episode. I need your top players from last week. These are our Under Armour game changers of the week. Which players or coaches impressed you guys the most?
Oh,
I was wrong. I will say this. I was wrong about Anthony Edwards. I didn't think he could quickly. I said last week, I don't know how much more he has to give. And then he comes out and says, hold my beer. It says, I'm only at a 5 still. Now, obviously, Taylor's interviewing him, so people are going to talk crazy, Taylor Rooks. But he's got to be. Look what he's been doing. Like, I don't care about the wins and losses. I care about his attitude of, like, put it on me to win this game. And does he give his team a chance to win? And he's been going crazy.
I want to say Kyrie based off of that last shot, just because I know we already revisited that, but I'm going to give him his flowers. I think that type of play, if you make a play that have kids around the globe, really, if we're being honest, going into their backyard and going out to their hoop and trying something new, I think that is impactful in a way. That's impactful in a way. So I know it's a little cheating, and we already gave him his flowers early. But if we're going to talk about the player that to me impacted the game. When I hear my kids throwing up left-handed shots, like Daddy, watch Kyrie, and then throwing up a brick from 5 feet with their left hand, yeah, that to me is like, oh, that dude had a lasting impact on a lot of people with the things he did with that shot that he hit.
Road Trippin's Game Changers of the Week are sponsored by Under Armour. Do your thing. Change the game. The Curry 11 Future Curries are available now at currybrand.com. Speaking of Anthony Edwards, another week, another monster dunk. We had a couple, actually. Trace Jackson Davis on Victor.
Crazy.
And then you had the Ant Edwards on John Collins. You had the Jalen Johnson on Austin Reeves.
Which was hilarious.
The reaction was even better when a reporter asked for his take, and he said, "This is why I don't like you."
He asked it for his view. He goes, "You didn't want my views."
He said,
"That's a
everyone
fucking
saw
stupid
it."
question.
Said, yeah, that was hilarious. I give Dan Wojcicki. They've got a great relationship. Dan and Austin go golf together. It's
listen,
awesome.
wait, really quickly. I'm not firing at, what's his name, Dan?
Dan Wojcicki.
Dan, I'm not giving you shit, but Dan, you were starting shit. You were starting
in the best way possible.
In the best way possible, but you're starting shit. And I could see by Austin's
reaction
that it was that. But it's like, you knew what you were doing.
Here's the thing, though.
No different than Grady Dick and our other guy. You guys knew what you were up to. You guys knew what you were up to.
Also, that's hilarious. And whether they did that on purpose, I give them a lot of worth it.
It's too much.
Nobody's been talking about Grady Dick all year.
First of all, no one's talking about Grady Dick, period.
That's not true. That's not true.
They're talking. My point is no, not the individual.
I have broadcasters that are like, I finally get my first Grady Dick game. They're excited. Everyone's excited on this end of the call.
I didn't mean the person. I meant because of the names that have come since. That's my point. Back to the Dan Wojcicki thing. I did ask him today at practice, had the team lost, because Austin even said it was a big momentum moment for Atlanta. So had the team lost, would you have still asked? That's when I feel like he would have been trying to start shit, because he did it in the environment in the win.
Playful, yeah. In a win, you can ask those questions. But I feel like he said it was momentum. Wasn't the score like 0-0?
No, it wasn't. Thanks for watching, though. It
was
like
that first dunk. What was the score? What was the score of that dunk?
Relax. You watch all the games.
What was this? Was that not like one of the first plays of the game? What was the score?
I thought it was. I thought it was 4-2, Allie.
I think it was like 14-17 or something. 14.
Oh my God.
It was early in the game.
It was early. Double check it when it was. Double check it.
Did you watch the game?
What?
Don't worry about it.
Be careful, Channing. He got quiet. You're like, no, I didn't say anything.
Okay, so all of that to ask the question, the best poster dunk of all time in your mind is, and Channing, have you ever got one like that?
What? Oh, God, yeah. Stromile Swift got me crazy. Shaq. Blake Griffin got me crazy.
What's the best poster dunk? What's the best poster dunk?
When Vince Carter jumped over a 7-foot humus, not even close.
Look.
In a game.
My basketball ego is, I would say, average for an NBA player. No. I think we all have a professional ego. You can't do it. My dunking ego is very high. My dunking ego is my dunking ego is very high. Can you at least fucking cover up your mic?
Tell.
So, or your fucking or your camera, you can still do that. Anyways, my dunking ego is high. My dunking ego is very, very high. So when I look at him, like I see people do dunks, I'm like, oh, I could have done that. Oh, I could have got that. When he does some shit, I'm like, oh, he might be Anthony Edwards. He might be on a different level. Because the way I viewed it is that there was Vince Carter and then everyone else. Everyone else was in tier 2 for game dunkers. He's reached the level where he's in that tier 2. To pass Vince, no one's going to pass Vince. And Vince Carter has the greatest in-game dunk of all time.
Blake Griffin has but like nobody is viciously mean wanting to embarrass you like that other than Giannis. Like
DeAndre Jordan, old DeAndre Jordan, old Sean Kemp. There were guys, again, we forget what Ja was doing when he was playing. Ja was catching bodies like that. And when you look at it, what's more impressive, Ja doing that or Anthony Edwards doing that? It's Ja. That shit is kind of like the Kyrie thing. It's like to be that size, bringing it that far back and punching it down on people and just taking off with no regard for your life at 6'2". That shit is wild. 6'7", I got a little distance to land. 6'2" dudes are taking off. That's a whole nother land. So the greatest one is still Vince, but Anthony Edwards, he is in tier 2, and I don't know if anybody can get to tier 1. Like MJ, Kobe, they're all tier 2.
By the way, the score was 0-0 for Austin Reeves. I didn't want people to call me out. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, I was like,
Having
because you
said that,
said a
we're going to
momentum, and
take
I
a
was like, I
drink.
feel like the game just started.
No, it's just that the Hawks started on a big run. Okay, so we're gonna stick with the Lakers for a second. D'Angelo Russell, he is soon about to hold 2 franchise records for most 3-pointers in a season. He owns the one in Brooklyn from the 2018-19 season, his All-Star season, and now he is tied with Nick Van Exel for 183 threes made with 13 games to go for the Lakers.
You almost hit 200. Van Exel almost hit 200 threes in the 90s.
That's
Let's
crazy.
think about that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Like Nick the Quick. If y'all don't know Nick the Quick had a lot of Kyrie in him, right? A lot of Kyrie, like that style. Could shoot, could go down the paint, left-handed, hard to guard, herky-jerky, Damon Stoudemire type. He was that. Nick the Quick was. Shout out my boy Eric. That was his favorite player. It was Van Exel. But Van Exel was special for a guy. He was a small player too. Had some Jamal Crawford, like cross you over, make you fall. But to almost hit 200 threes for the Lakers in the 90s when the game wasn't what it is now, like that shows you what he
records nowadays should not be counted past 2010. Right? Like I put it this way, in 2010 on the Suns, I made 172 in a year. Right? That was a lot. But look at players now making 170,
the game is different.
180.
No, but the game is different. But the game is different. But we can we can highlight
for Nick Van Exel. We need to have an asterisk because in a game where it was not, they weren't shooting 23s a game, so he was 5 for 5 a lot. 6 for 6, 6 for 8.
The thing that's so crazy is like we know the greatness of Stephen Curry, and he's approaching 300 if he's not already there by now for the 5th time. But like I guess D'Angelo 183, 13 games to go. He's obviously going to get over 200, you imagine, barring anything. He's shooting it at a 42% clip. He is a volume guy as well when it comes to the 3 ball, but just Steph Curry, he's over 300 threes again. Like what?
300 it doesn't even make sense.
That's not.
Yes, it's not real.
And by the way, like D'Angelo's only missed like a handful of games this year. Like,
if D'Angelo was the best player on the team, and that he is the 3rd best player on this team, and he's almost hitting 200. If he was shooting the way he was, and again, there's different levels, but if he was, Steph is different because that's their primary weapon. That's why I always say it's different. Like I stand by that. I think Kevin Durant, if he only wanted to shoot threes, I think he would be in the Steph level. Right, I think he would be in the Steph level, but he has so much more that he could go do. Steph depends on that as an assassin, as a sniper, to do it from distance. Kevin Durant can beat you in multiple ways. It's just a part of his arsenal. Right?
I know people,
so
that's fair. I know people love us talking about the 9th and 10th seeds in the Western Conference right now, but we're going to talk about it for a second because if you've got a healthy LeBron and a healthy Anthony Davis, which by the way, Anthony Davis just played 65 games, so now he is eligible for postseason awards. Having said that, it's the most games he's played since the 2017-18 season, I believe.
2001.
No. Having said that, take a drink. Is it fair to say that healthy LeBron, healthy AD, the Lakers will go as far as D'Angelo Russell and his shooting allows them to go?
Matchups.
I said it coming into the season, he is the team's X factor.
Matchups.
And you know what? What else does Darvin Ham got in that handbag? Because
what's up with Vanderbilt?
Yeah, what's up with him?
There's an update coming.
Oh,
is he gonna play?
There's hope.
Okay, that's all. Yeah, as long as there's hope.
And Gabe.
There's
Cam
what?
Reddish
Gabe's still on the team?
Cam Reddish is expected back on Friday.
Okay.
Again, the Lakers 13 games to go. Cam Reddish is expected back. There's 13 games. There's an update coming on Gabe and what's his name? Jared Vanderbilt. And then Christian Wood likely will not be playing. He just had surgery yesterday for the remaining of the season. That's your
Richard, let me ask you this question. Here's a question. It's about the Suns. The Suns are, what are they, 8th? No.
The toughest remaining schedule, or the second toughest remaining, something ridiculous like that.
They are 8th. Let's say the Suns make it to the play-in and lose in the first round.
Do you have them finishing in 8th? Because the Lakers are how far behind them, and the Lakers have the tiebreaker.
They are 2.5 games.
Can the Lakers catch them, who have the 20?
15. If you gotta play well, if you got 15 games left, you gotta get me with a 11-4 record, a 12-3 record.
I just want to know, Channing, based off of your question, if they're gonna have to win 2 play-in games or 1 play-in game, because that is a different story.
The Lakers?
No, the Suns. The question you're about to ask.
Have to win. Oh, the Suns. I think the Suns are gonna have to win 2 play-in games. I think the Suns are going to have to win 2. My question to you guys is this thing with KD and Booker and Beal, and, it's wild that is a quote unquote, I don't want to say, I hate saying super team. That is a highly talented team that is underproducing for various reasons, not anyone individually, but how many more years do you think we don't look at some of them individually and say, maybe some of these guys just don't work here? Like, how many years do you give this setup in Phoenix?
How about this? How many years has it been?
Less than 1.
1.5. Exactly. 3. So but to answer your question, it's like, yeah, you look at this talent, but I also look at it again. There's so many times you win championships when the collective group has been together a little bit of time. Yeah. They need to get 1 or 2 more guys that are like, oh, look at all of this talent. I can live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to take the minimum versus taking $3 million someplace else. So they're going to be on the market. I don't know how much money. They don't have a lot of cap space. They don't have any of that stuff. Their owner is trying to win. He wants to spend money. So going over the cap and doing those things. They don't have a lot of draft capital. They don't have a lot of assets, but I think that they could build out. I think that they're 1 or 2 players away, 2 or 3 players away. And it doesn't have to be high level. It could be veteran. It could be different things. I think if they fill out the roster, I think next year is their team. Bradley Beal gets right. Devin Booker's typically pretty consistent. Kevin Durant is healthy. So I think this year, the fact that they've been in the middle when the West is really good. Minnesota made a jump. OKC made a jump. New Orleans made a jump. So it's like you look at these, and there's teams like Sacramento that have dropped off, right? The Clippers have made a jump. So they're also in a Western Conference that is far better. Kawhi and Paul George have been healthy this year, and they added James Harden. So when you start looking at this same Phoenix Suns team last year, might have been 3rd or 4th. Now, this year, they're hovering around the play-in, and it looks a little bit more dicey. I think next year will be the best version. At the end of next year is when you make an evaluation.
When it comes to the Warriors, remember that conversation that we had about what to do at the trade deadline? Steph, rebuild, Clay, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so for the last 2 months, Jonathan Kuminga has been averaging over 20 a game. They're 16-8 in that stretch. Is he enough to help the Warriors, help Steph, and the Warriors make a deep playoff run?
No.
Steve Kerr said he's going to channel that. Miami got the 8th seed last year. You saw what they did. If they're able to get into the postseason.
Yeah, that ain't it. That ain't the same. This ain't that. This ain't that.
They can make noise.
Oh, for sure.
But if they weren't the Warriors, we wouldn't be talking about them. So that says from like the defensive numbers, the offensive numbers, how they have played, their overall performance consistency. right? But we're giving them credit, rightfully so, because of their veteran leadership, because of the success they had. The same way that we are doubting OKC in Minnesota because they don't have any collective success, because they don't have any experience. That's why it balances. A really very good team all year long that doesn't have a lot of experience, we feel like that drops down. A team that's been struggling all year long but has a boatload of championship experience, that's what we think raises the level. But I think ultimately in the playoffs, in 7 games, your consistency is the key. Consistency is the key in that space. So it's like if you've been inconsistent, even when they won the championship and they had some injuries and they stumbled into the postseason, the first 40 games they were 30-10. So they had that to fall back on from a mentality. They don't have that. They're going to be pulling from stuff a few years ago to increase their mentality for what they can go accomplish. But they know there's 3 guys on that team that won 73 games. They know their team isn't consistent or good or performing at a high level because they've seen what high level performing teams are and they know that they are not one.
Yeah.
Let's
A lot
finish
of double
this.
teams.
Let's finish this episode with a little bit of fun. One, I want to give a shout out to Isaiah Thomas. I like seeing awesome people win, and I think it's great. His 10-day contract signing with the Phoenix Suns, I believe that begins tonight as we're recording this.
Let's go.
So shout out to IT. He got some of our Road Trippin swag. He was super pumped about it. Keeping in touch with him. He's been on this episode, or he's been on this podcast. All right. When this podcast comes out, the madness has arrived. The NCAA tournament has begun. My Rockets didn't get it done.
As usual.
Unlike last year. Excuse me. They've won the MAC outright the last 3 seasons, excuse me. They went to the
Wait, your
second round
women's
of
team or your women's team or your men's team?
my women's team.
Oh, I thought we were talking about men's. My bad.
Well, the men didn't get it done either.
Yeah.
After winning the MAC outright the last 4 years. All right. But you guys, you big cats, are the 2 seed. The 2 seed. What are you guys nervous? Are your buttholes getting tight? Is that what I'm sensing?
My butthole stays tight.
It's getting tight. It's getting tight. So Gilbert posted some highlights. Gilbert posted some highlights on his Twitter from the Illinois. It was the Illinois versus whatever game in the Elite Eight. And so he posted the highlights. And
Illinois and Channing?
That was a lot. No. But I'm saying no. Versus our team. When we played against them, we beat Illinois. We beat Illinois in the 8 to go to the Final Four. So my point is that when I go back and look at that team, I believe our Arizona team has talent. I believe we have multiple guys that have played in the national championship game. All of these things, I believe in them. But I also am very stressed because we're not playing consistent basketball right now. We lose, don't play well in the conference, and we're not. We lose to USC after getting a share of the title against UCLA
because they were partying with you in the locker room.
Look, if you can't handle it on both ends, and that's on you, bro.
Whoa!
Right? You can't handle it on both ends. Yeah. And they took it on the
God, I really sense you guys are very nervous.
I don't want us to become the Gonzaga of the South.
I am not playing, so I am not nervous. I root for them. I feel when we talk about like the coach, I feel like he's nervous, right? When Tommy Lloyd is like, I have another 2 seed, I have a great team, and he does. Veteran, shooting, depth, they have all the things. The man that is coaching against us, and there's a lot of Cinderella stories that involve Arizona. There's a lot of that because we're one of those teams. So that's the part where it's like, wait, we're getting Long Beach State that has a Cinderella story, and the more it continues, the more it just turns into like, oh God.
Fair. How are you able to call the broadcast, Richard, as you did Arizona UCLA on ESPN, and then go in and party in the locker room? How did that work out?
How am I able to?
Yeah.
2 feet in a prayer.
2 feet in a prayer?
Look, man.
I'm stealing that line. Put it on a t-shirt.
Put it on a t-shirt.
2 feet in a prayer.
We're just Wildcats. I fill out my bracket backwards. I put in Arizona as a champion, and then I work my way backwards.
Okay, fair.
I don't know, man. Houston and UConn are kind of nice.
We
are kind of nice.
Okay. All right. I went to Lakers practice today, and apparently our friend LeBron James was going to speak to the media, and then there was something that deterred him. I think there were some NBA meetings or something, and instead he said, "Just tell him to subscribe to the pod." So, is there any advice you guys would give LeBron? And
Welcome to the family, Bron. Well, hey,
podcast?
welcome to the family, Bron. Welcome to the family.
Yeah, we'll sign you.
No. We're all in the same family, Bron. Welcome. We're all in the same. This is all family.
Good. Send them ads this way.
Well, we're all welcome to the family, Bron.
Yeah. Welcome to what we're doing. Welcome to get on our back.
Welcome to the dark side. All right, you guys are amazing. We've got a lot of edits in this episode. It's another edition of Road Trippin.
All right.